Hi, I'm Celeste from Barb's Kitchen Center. Today we're here in our classroom and we're going to make a tres leche cake. A tres leche cake means it's a cake made with 3 milks. So the ingredients we're going to use today are a 1.5 cups of flour, just all-purpose flour. You don't need the cake flour or pastry flour. 1/2 cup of milk, whole milk, a little bit of vanilla, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Always get baking powder and baking soda mixed up. A cup of sugar, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 3 eggs at room temperature. The very first thing I did when I started to get prepped for today was to turn on my oven to 350 degrees. Your cake should go into a nice warm oven so that it raises evenly. Okay, we're going to add all of our dry ingredients to a sifter. This is just a ball sifter. I like to put my sifter on a plate so that none of the ingredients wind up on the counter and then wind up on the floor. So first our flour. Then our baking powder. I'll figure it out before the end of this video. And then the salt. We're going to leave the sugar and the eggs because they'll get combined together first in the mixer. Now we're going to add our eggs to our mixer. I like to crack them in a bowl first, just in case I get a bad one. So, 1 egg. Here, I'll take the roof off the mixer to make it easier. Second egg. Or since this is a Latin American cake, dos. And tres. Then I add my sugar. I turn on my mixer to a high speed and I'll mix it between 5 and 10 minutes until the eggs and the sugar turn a lovely shade of white. Now that our mixture is mixed for 10 minutes, it's very, very pale yellow and it's gotten a little thick and it kind of looks like ribbons in the bowl. So I'll put my mixers back on, add just a wee bit of vanilla. You can also use vanilla bean paste if you want. It'll make your cake look a little seedy, but it's very, very good. The next thing we have to do is add half of our flour, our dry ingredient mixture. So the flour, the baking powder, and the salt. So I'll just sift it in. And you want to sift it in because you don't want any big lumps that aren't going to incorporate into the batter. So just let me mix that for a minute. Everything's wet, then I'll add my milk. In this case, I actually used cream because I had some extra cream in the fridge that wasn't going to last till next week. And you can always switch out your milks. The higher the fat content, the more flavorful your cake. So then I'll add the rest of my dry ingredients. Make sure I get them all. And then I'll put the splash ring back on so I don't get covered in flour when I turn it back on. I don't want to mix for too long. I just want to make sure all of the ingredients are incorporated. And the next thing we'll do is put our cake into the pan. You'll need a 9x13 pan. Any 9x13 pan really will do. I like the ceramic pans because they're really a pretty presentation. I will spray my pan. I'm using Vegeline, which is a commercial pan spray. But in a pinch, you could even butter your pan, just to make sure it doesn't stick. So I will take my whips out. And scrape them off so I get as much cakey goodness as I can into my pan. go. And so you can see the batter looks like a cake batter. It's nice and kind of thick, but not too thick. You don't want a dough. And of course, if you use a lower fat milk, it's not going to be quite as thick. But because this was whipping cream I used from my dairy, it's a much thicker batter than if I had just used plain milk. All right, one more swipe around the bowl, and then we'll be ready to put it in the oven. You want to get it nice and even across the bottom of the pan, and we'll be ready to go. Now into the oven we go. So, like I said, I preheated the oven to 350. We're going to leave it in there for 25 minutes, and when it comes out, we'll have a lovely cake. Once your cake is out of the oven, you're going to want to let it set or cool for at least 6 hours. I've made this cake when the cake has been warm, but it's always better if it gets to sit for a while. So I'm going to take the one out of the fridge that I made yesterday. And we will move on to the next step. The next step will explain the mystery of the 3 milks, because you did not see me add 3 milks to this cake. So I'm using my chocolate fork, but you can use a bamboo skewer, a plain old kitchen fork, and you're going to start putting holes in your cake. Right. So you just put as many perforations as you can. The more perforations you put in, the more the milk will soak in. And make sure you get right down to the bottom of the pan. Oh, that looks sufficiently stabbed for today. Now comes the yummy part. We're going to put the milks together. So the first milk I have is just garden variety condensed milk. And then we have, of course, the best stuff, the heavy cream. And you can either use condensed milk or my personal favorite, dulce de leche. And I don't have a spoon for my dulce de leche, so I will use this. Dulce de leche is caramelized condensed milk. So it tends to be a little thicker, but it is still super yummy. Right. Then you want to add a little vanilla. I've got clear vanilla this time. But you could use vanilla bean paste. You could use regular dark vanilla, especially with the dulce de leche, which is going to make this mixture a little darker. And then a little bit of almond extract just for some extra flavor. Other things you could put in if you're going to an adult party is you could add some Grand Marnier, you could add some Kahlua, anything that's a flavor that you like. So then I'll just mix this up. And we're ready to pour it on the cake. Now I'll pour the milks over the cake. At first it's going to seem like it's way too much milk for this poor little cake. And you'll probably see it pooling. And make sure you get the edges, because you don't want, on this cake, you don't want dry edges. All right. Then you can pop it back in the fridge, let it set for a little more time, and then take it out and put the good stuff on top. Now that the milk is all soaked into your cake, we're going to top it with whipped cream. I'm using an ISI container. An ISI container is what you see on all the cooking shows when they're doing whipped cream or they're making the fancy foams. So the one thing you want to check on your ISI container is to make sure you have the rubber valve in and to make sure that it's seated properly so that you get a good seal. Then you add your whipped cream. Really cool thing about ISI containers is you don't have to store them in the fridge. You can if you want to, but once you add your charger to it, you are good, and you don't have to worry about it being not whipping properly. There's a fill line on the outside of it, which is what I was looking for. You don't want to overfill it. You want to give the gas enough space to be able to do its work. If you wanted to add sugar at this point, I'd use a powdered sugar so that the sugar doesn't get caught in the nozzle. And it's always good to add a little vanilla. A little vanilla makes everything better. If you chose to, you could add the almond extract or any other extract to flavor it. Then you put on your lid. Give it a wee bit of a shake to mix up the vanilla and the whipped cream together. Put your charger in the holder. Spin it on and wait for the sound. There it is. Give it another shake to make sure that it's, and you can even feel the canister getting cold in your hand. So make sure everything's all mixed up and ready to go. And I take this off again. Whatever you do, do not open this. You will wind up with whipped cream on the ceiling and all over you. So then you put on the nozzle and away we go. Yep, need the button. You can do it all pretty and fancy, but you're going to throw berries on top of this, so I am just going to cover it. There you go. And now I need my berries. Where'd my berries run off to? There they are. They're rinsed. I've let them sit in the sink and dry so I don't add a whole bunch more water. And let's see if I can do this without pouring them all over the floor. There we go. I like lots of berries on this cake. It looks really impressive when you walk in the door with it, and the berries help cut the richness of the cake. There goes one. There he is. Voila! So that's a tres leche cake. If you want to fancy it up a little bit, you can add a little donut sugar to the top of it, a little sanding sugar. When you cut into this cake, it's going to look really, really wet. And I remember the first time I tried it, I kind of looked at it and went, seriously? But as soon as you take your first bite, it'll become your favorite cake, just like it's mine. Thanks for joining us. If you didn't get all of the ingredients, we'll be posting a list of ingredients right after this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at sales@barbskitchen.com. Thanks for joining me.